DC here. Hi guys. Okay, this is my answer to a tag by TheBlueFlamingo. What are you reading right now? Well, I've seen that there's been a few replies. I looked at Bob's up to now, but I decided not to look at any others because, you know, that way it is, it can maybe influence what you say and so on. Okay, what am I reading right now? Right now, I'm reading the second part. If I can put that close enough. This is the second part to the Ken Follett series. Actually, Ken Follett wrote a few years back a book called The Pillar of the Earth, which was on, which was a bit on, you know, well, there was of course a romance story or somewhere around there, adventure and so on, but it was set in a medieval theme of, you know, creating, building cathedrals, learning how to do all the building around these beautiful buildings that you find in Europe. And when you think, I mean, that these were, we're talking about the 13th century, something like that, how that these men and women, you know, managed to do all these beautiful things with actually sometimes very little knowledge except for a lot of feeling. And so that was the first book, actually, and the second one, which came out not too long ago, which is called World Without End, which I actually grabbed because I thought, you know, it was going to be just as good as the first one. Well, it isn't actually. There's a bit of the excitement going around this medieval theme, but basically it's two intertwined love stories. I mean, not that I got anything against love stories, but I didn't actually buy it for that. I was hoping that there would be more to it for that. And since it's, let me see now, well, in over 1,000 pages, I'm about a third through, but it's not as exciting as the first one was. Okay, books. What about books? At the end of the video, I'll just throw in a few pictures. We've got books everywhere. Everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. My wife will probably, one day, if ever she decides to have a garage sale, and I'm away for a long time, that could be a cause for divorce. No, I'm only joking here, but I mean, I have so many books that it is actually at a point. It can be actually a point of tension at one point or another. Books. Okay. One book, Steinbeck, Travels with Charlie. I have read this book every year, probably for the last 30 years or something like that. Yeah, that's probably about right, actually. I love this book. I mean, there's little bits of wisdom in there. If ever you get a chance to read it, it's Steinbeck. It's semi-autobiographical. I mean, he goes off touring America in a van with his dog, which is called Charlie, and he tries to discover America, and he discovers himself basically through the interactions with the people. There's a lot into this book, a lot of bits of wisdom, which I find actually talk a lot to myself, and I find it's really, really a good book. On my channel, I talk about two people, Elizabeth George. Got that wrong here. Elizabeth George, there's quite a few books here. Elizabeth George, this is what she looks like. She is an American author that writes actually most of the time in an English, British setting. It's one of these series of novels which actually fit together when you've read them all, but you can actually read them separately, maybe except for the last few. But most of them you can read separately. Elizabeth George. Here we are. Okay. I won't put this one too close. This one is actually written by somebody very close to my heart. It's written by myself, actually. Well, it's my thesis. Okay, so there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into that one. Other books. Well, actually, there's tons and tons of books. Mary Wesley is a lady who started writing late on in age. She's in the pardon now. But she has written a whole series of books which are really quite interesting because they're funny paradigms that happen in life and that, people have to get through. Susanna Trollope, classics, I mean, just about everything. Books that have touched me. The Black Stallion, when I was a boy, I used to read those by Walter Foley. And other books. Well, if I just look around here, P.D. James, a lot of Krimi books, which are actually very nice. Here's one, actually, Amish Grace. If you remember, actually, a few years back when there was a killing, actually, in one of the schools, in one of the Amish schools, this book tells a lot about how there was a reconstruction, I would say, of faith, it's a lot about faith, actually. And it's a lot about, actually, the Amish way of life. It talks a lot about the way the Amish look at forgiveness. It's quite enlightening, actually. And I have to admit, they don't always come out looking as saintly as we might expect. They come out looking, actually, I think, very, very real and very touching in this book. Okay. This is a little one. Good night, John Boy. A little bit of quips and quotes taken from one of my favorite television series, The Waltons. James Herriot. All Things Bright and Beautiful. The series, James Herriot was a veterinarian, and he wrote really a lot about his little travels, trips, going to his clients. Oh, goodness, let's see now. Maeve Binchy, Irish. And here, down below, I'll probably throw in a picture, there's 25 years more of National Geographics, which is something that I like to read a lot. And I don't have time to go through it all, but of course, I have a whole series of Christian books, apologetics. Of course, what do I read? The Bible and newspapers. What am I reading every day? Newspapers as well. So what am I reading now? Well, like I told you, Ken Follett. I'll be actually glad to get through this one. I am, though, going to start very soon, if I can just pull it out. It's the last series from Alexander McCall Smith. It's in the series, the #1 Ladies Detective Agency. I think this is book number 8 or 9. And this one is Tea Time for the Traditionally Built. Traditionally built is the term that the main person in this book uses for herself. She is an African lady who is probably slightly overweight, but she never says she's overweight. She says she is traditionally built. I really like that. Okay, what else? I mean, this is the type of thing that, I've been thinking about it. Now that I'm in front of the camera, I can't remember what I was supposed to say. Doesn't matter. But there are books everywhere. Everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. And probably the only thing that saves me from reading more books is being on YouTube. The problem, though, with YouTube is that, well, I mean, you hear about books, you hear about other things, and I see the time going on. I've got to stop. So that's where I'm going to stop right now. DC's going to sign off. He's going to say goodbye. And BlueFlamingo, great, great topic.